Okay. Don't be fooled by the Bonfire midweek intro video. Just wanted to add a little pizzazz to the first edition of Bonfire After Dark, Game Day After Dark, whatever you want to call it. Here we are. Zach Schnitzer joining me and looking forward to breaking down the Blue Bombers opening preseason game. Zach, how are you?
Oh man, I'm on cloud nine, Darren. You know how it is. The IG field is our happy place, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful summer night. We just missed the
Perfect.
rain. We've had a hell of a year. We haven't really had a spring. You get there, you see the Gridiron Gladiators go to town with the Elks, and hey, it was a loss, but it's preseason, and there were some things to see, right? And I got to meet tons of fans that we've talked to on Twitter and followers. We've got Greg Liverpool here, and he's already noticing Greg because he doesn't miss a beat. I've got
Nope.
oh hey, Mike Young's here too. I want to meet you, buddy. I've got a press pass, so I'm leaving IG Field with my buddy Jack Keys from Ireland. I don't know why I'm telling you he's from Ireland, but he is. We're leaving, and I see a press pass sitting there, and I don't know. I was impulsive, Darren, and I just took it, and so now I've got a press pass. I'm not going to tell you who it is because that's probably offensive, but hey, man. We got to go to IG Field on a beautiful night. I had a Haze Bomb Juicy Pale Ale. I had a
Yeah, notice that.
coffee. I had a bit of a water. I had a Coors, but just because someone bought me one. So, but I'm totally
You
stone cold
behaved.
sober.
You behaved so we could do a good show tonight.
I totally behaved sweet because I'm working. I'm working now, right? And yeah, it's go time, buddy. We got to see the Bombers play. Got to see some great friends there at the game.
Yeah.
Caught a nice picture with my mother-in-law going there. Shout out to all you Blue Bomber women fans. Right? There's tons of you. And I want to say one tweet before we get going. This one absolutely cracked me up, and I'm not going to throw down any F-bombs here, Darren, because
While you look for it, I'll
okay.
mention one female fan who I reached out to before the game is Ainsley McPhail. If you recognize that name, it's because she is a reporter and live on CTV mornings here in Winnipeg. Huge football fan, former player, came to Winnipeg to work for CTV. Now she's coaching the Falcons, the 12-year-olds, I believe. And I'm going to do everything I can. We really want to get her on Bonfire Sports this year.
Nice. Yeah.
Want to get a lot of different voices on the program tonight. But shout out to Tristan Rivers Music. Noticing that we're doing a little a la IC, a la Illegal Curve and Kenny and Rennie and those guys. But yeah, we're looking forward to having a little bit of fun here on Game Day After Dark. So what do you got there?
Well, and it's steamy, right?
Oh,
I
it's
mean, you
steamy.
promised the fans this was going to be a steamy bonfire
Well, it ended up
post
being,
game after dark.
it ended up being steamy. I'm going to try to keep my voice down because wifey is trying to sleep, and
Yeah,
hopefully
that's
there's enough
fair.
distance between us in the crib. But
Otherwise, there'll be more distance if you
well,
make too much noise. Trust
she's
me.
got to teach a class in the morning, so
I
I'm
hear
going to
you,
do what I
buddy.
can to keep it quiet. But anyway, we'll try to
Oh,
keep the energy high. It was
yes.
steamy because the rain started falling. It's
Yeah, seriously.
warm, and everything was just kind of like sticky and damp and a little steamy. So here we
Yeah.
are, being
Hey,
steamy on After Dark.
well, there you go. It's after dark. It's fun. Listen, but I do want to say shout out to those women fans. I used to run with Sandy Bassoon on McMillan, and we used to go to games, and my mother-in-law, of course. Glennis Corkle's a she's in Texas right now. She sits with my mother-in-law. Shout out to Glennis and her workouts and listening to my podcast. And I saw Blue Bomber Woman. I saw Jersey Girl. I saw Vicky Short for the first time. Vicky's retired. She's her and retired guy Brian, they're on the concourse. They're just like the happiest people I've seen in years. Like
Is
they're
that right?
retired. They're like, oh yeah, we're just catching the game. We like to have naps in the afternoon. And I'm just like, naps? I haven't had a nap. I don't know. How old's my daughter? 7 years. Anyway, let me read this tweet, and I will just say F instead of F bomb. Sandy, big fan of Sandy, at Sandy_BB_lover, big card collector, friend of Tamara. She says, at Go Elks, how effing disrespectful of you to come onto the field and start throwing the ball while dancers were still on the field. F you, Chris Jones, you arrogant F. And
I saw that. I saw that tweet. And okay, it's funny for sure. But can I put some like rationalization into it?
sure.
These football players are there to play a football game, and the dancers are there to dance at a football game. They can both do it. It wasn't disrespectful. These guys, it doesn't matter if it's a TV timeout or halftime or whatever injury, they warm up. They're throwing the football. So, like,
Yeah, I
I
know.
get it. Throw some barbs at the evil Chris Jones. Fans like to have fun with that, but I understand why they were doing it. What did you
Hey,
think of the game, Zach? Like,
yeah, let's get
I
to the
was on
game.
the field taking some pictures. The energy was good. A lot of the game was a lot of those backups, right? A lot of those guys
Yeah,
vying for
absolutely.
jobs. We did get to see a Nick Demski touchdown. We did get to see a
Yeah,
couple nice catches from him. How about Johnny Augustine? Like,
yeah.
adding fuel to the fire. He goes 6 carries for 54 yards. So now it's like Johnny Augustine averages 7 yards a carry. No, he averaged 9 tonight. So add that. I'll just caveat by saying this. Mike O'Shea was asked about it after the game. I was in that press conference, and he says, no matter what you read or hear or whatever has been said about Brady Oliveira and Johnny Augustine and like number 1 and number 2, it is going to be a backfield by committee. I broke that down as much as I could on GameDay Winnipeg with Chris Walby. If you missed the pregame show, we're going to do it every week all season long. We're going to do this too. Bonfire After Dark, GameDay After Dark. I'll get it down. I'll get the language down, Zach. But
It's late, buddy.
like we don't need to say, oh, Johnny over Brady or Brady over Johnny. It's
Yeah.
going to be Brady and Johnny and Kyle Borsa. Like, that's what it's going to be. And that's a
Hey,
good thing.
Kyle Borsa got into the game, right? I mean, it didn't make a whole lot, but he's got backup O linemen, and it's his first game under the lights, right? But
He
nice
returned
to
some
see him
kicks
get
too,
some
right?
touches, right?
Yeah, I
It
think
was
he
nice to
returned a
see
kick.
Borsa get in.
I'm just pulling up some stats here. Yeah, the kick returns. So, yeah, Borsa returned 1 kickoff for 13 yards. Greg McCrae
Yeah,
averaged 18 yards on 3 kickoff returns. He had a punt return for 9. Holm, first name is escaping
yeah,
me right now, but he's the University of North Dakota safety. He also returned some kicks today, and he had that fumble. I know that probably stood out in a lot of people's minds, but
Evan
um,
Holm, Evan
Evan
Holm.
Holm, yeah, and former teammate of Brady Oliveira as well. UND, not NDSU, University of North Dakota. But that's the thing. These games are about seeing some of those young players and who can pop off the page. How much disdain was there in the crowd for the kicking game tonight?
Well, I got some notes here. Like, first of all, I love me some Mortada. I'm rooting for the guy, but you cannot ding one off the post on a point after attempt, buddy. Now, this was a preseason game. Hey, Turf District, welcome. Welcome, Andrew. Big fan of yours, buddy. Love the Turf District. Shout out to Superfan Mike and Commissioner K. Nice to see you guys, although you're the enemy tonight. Listen, you can't ding one off the post if you're like Bomber fans have there's not a long rope for Ali Mortada. You ding one off the post. It was 24-20 at the time.
Mhm.
So you have a chance. Now, I know it's preseason, Darrin, but you have a chance to make it a 3-point game, which matters, right? If it's regular season, 3-point versus 4-point is big. You ding one off that right goalpost, nicht gut, as they say in Yiddish, like, no, no, no. So me personally, I was shaking my head. I'm like, this is not good. Okay, so the rope just got a little bit shorter for Matata. His kickoffs were good. I saw him
Yeah.
punting a little bit. The punts he whiffed on the punts. The kickoffs were good, so I'll give him that. But
He averaged
yeah,
71.5 yards on kickoffs.
it's
Leggio
good.
also kicked 2. He averaged 67. Leggio actually had a better net kickoff average for what that's worth. They
Right.
only picked
Sure.
off twice each, but each of them punted as well. I thought that
Yeah.
was interesting. Now, Mortada's numbers, it's funny, they both averaged exactly 34.3 yards net punting. I noticed Ali Mortada did like a drop kick and really put spin on the ball. I think that may be a reason why the Bombers like him. He has some tools in his tool belt.
Sure.
But like, look, I'm going to say what everybody out there is thinking right now. He needs to make field goals. He needs to be 85%. That's what you have to do to be a professional kicker, especially in the Canadian Football League. We know how valuable it is. We look at Sergio Castillo in the Grey Cup and how important he was to the Blue Bombers being back-to-back Grey Cup champions. So, yeah, I mean, Gregory, our good friend, says he went to a dark place when that happened. I imagine he's thinking the doink. But it is the preseason. We'll see. Zach, how about quarterback Drew Brown?
Yeah.
He was extremely impressive tonight. Looked very comfortable in the pocket. Looked comfortable, except for maybe one in the first quarter there, where he was kind of running against the grain to the left
Yeah.
side and
Yeah.
got taken down, or the ball was tipped. I think he was able to get rid of it. But 10 of 13, 77% for 108 yards, no interceptions, threw that one touchdown to Dalton Schoen, another
Shown.
young guy that's looking he's shown is
He's
that like
shown.
short for Sean, like he shined shown
He's
or did he
shown. He's
show?
shown. He got the touch. Was that a third down? I'm trying to.
Yeah,
I
that's a
had
good
my
question.
notes out. I thought it was a third down. I thought Shone he had a nice 6-yard gain. He had the touchdown. I thought Drew Brown was pretty poised. He didn't show much in that Calgary game. I think he came a long way. And hey, kudos to him, right? I
Yeah.
believe he started the game, which is, he's got not all the starters, Darren, but Demski was out there, Wolotarski was out there, and good for him. He also had a rushing touchdown. So
Yeah.
I liked what I saw from Drew Brown and Dakota Prukop. He had some moments, but I think he struggled. Situationally, of course, he was in with second and third stringers. He had to kind of loft one up there. He got a couple picks, so not the greatest for Prukop, but he got in there. He's getting warmed up. It's early, so I'm not super concerned with Prukop. How about you?
No, I'm not super concerned with Prukop. I think we got to remember these guys did a split, and it was Drew Brown in the first quarter, Prukop in the second quarter, Drew Brown in the third quarter with a different
Yeah,
O-line, and then Prukop again in the fourth quarter with a different O-line.
yeah,
So, Prukop went 5 of 14, just 36%, 2 interceptions.
yeah.
I would probably hang one of them on him, the other maybe not so much, but either way, it can be tough. And for Dakota Prukop, like he's been in the CFL for 5 years, right? This is his sixth season.
Yeah.
And um, how different is this offense compared to what he has played, like what he played in Edmonton last year? Probably extremely different. Who was it? Jamie Elizondo's offense in Edmonton last year compared to what Buck Pierce is running. That very similar to Paul Lapalisa's system. So maybe it's going to take him more time as a veteran to be comfortable in this system. Drew Brown was here last year, got
Good
very
point.
limited action in one game. I think he went 50% for 49 yards, no
Yeah.
touchdowns, no interceptions, sort of thing. So today to see him go 77% for over 100 yards on 13 attempts is a nice thing. But offensively, we got to see a little bit of everybody, right? We talked about Augustine and Oliveira. Prukop ran 3 times for 18 yards. So that's a nice 6-yard average for a quarterback. And had the touchdown, obviously, as
Right.
well. Brown, Borsa, McRae, they each had a handful of carries. So, again, in preseason, you're kind of going to get what you get. And, in the case of the offense, like different guys coming in and out, I'm sure when it comes to the cuts the Winnipeg Blue Bombers need to make, they need to cut down by Saturday
Yeah.
That is tomorrow. For a few more minutes, it's still tomorrow here on Game Day After Dark. They got to cut down to 75 plus their non-counters. Who are non-counters? Draft picks that have Blue Bombers draft picks that have not signed or played, signed a CFL contract or played in any games, as well as NCAA players that have never been in professional training camps. So, a guy like Patrice Rene, a draft pick, never played pro, never been in an NFL training camp or any sort of preseason game or things like that. He's a non-counter. So it won't exactly be right down to 75, Zach, but they're going to have to make some decisions. They're going to have to kind of trim the fat, if you will. So it'll be interesting to see, the decisions Walters and O'Shea and all of the coaches sit down and make. Over they're going to be back. They might have a couple beers tonight, to celebrate actually playing real football on a nice night here in Southern Manitoba. But then they got work to do in the morning.
Well, speaking of cut downs, right? Like on the one hand, it's interesting to see who's going to get cut and who doesn't. On the other hand, you feel for these guys because you think about mom and dad or whoever the parents are, guardians, shelling out the shekels over the years, like, carting them to practice, and this is their dream, and they only have like that one shot, right? You don't have much of a chance. So you look at 31 Evan Holm, who's a safety or DB, he drops that first one, right? And I'm looking over at my friend Jack and then John and Pat Hosang, shout out to you, sit beside me in section 128, row 11. And you're like apple in a roadmap, a la Chris Walby, right? And
Yes.
But then, hey, does he redeem himself with the 41-yard return later on? Now, is that him? Is that the cover team blocking well? It's hard for me to know.
Right.
I'm not an X's and O's guy by trade. Maybe I'll get better as we go there, Darrin. Learning from the best right here.
Yeah,
but,
right.
But it means something to these guys, right? They're not just, warm bodies. These are people with a history. But, maybe Evan Holm redeemed himself enough to get on the PR. I don't know. But a guy that really... Oh, first of all, we got to say, did Zach Collaros not tweet us back, my friend?
Yes, he
That
did.
was a highlight for me.
Yeah, Collaros. Collaros. L-A-R in caps. That's the emphasis. Zach Collaros is how he pronounces it. It's how we should pronounce it.
That's right.
What's the famous meme? Put some respect on my name. That was Birdman, I think, on the Breakfast Club with Charlemagne and the rest, if you're privy to those things. But putting some respect on the MOP's name. No more Collaros. It's Zach Collaros. And happy to hear others jumping on board with that, because it doesn't matter who you are. If you're on the practice roster, we should be saying your name right. You're a professional athlete, so if you're the best player in the league, the best quarterback in the league, we'll say, we'll say your name right. But yeah, cool to see him tweet at us, right?
Well, and as two gentlemen who have some, well, not you, but like, Collaros and Schnitzer, we have some different names. Kevin, my good buddy Kevin just texted me. He's saying,
just
Evan
doing
Holmes
some
getting cut tomorrow, or I will eat my shirt. You know what,
Hey,
Kevin, have a heart.
Hold on a second.
Your shirt.
Hold on a second. Evan Holm joined Blue Bombers training camp late. Like, he's only been here a few days. No joke. So, they threw him right into action. Yeah, okay, he bobbled a ball and maybe didn't play as well as he wanted to, but I don't expect him to be one of the first cuts because they haven't had a real good look at him,
That's fair.
So we'll see. We'll see.
I will say, though, not to talk too much about the evil Elks, but since our friends from the Turf District are here, my mother-in-law were chopping it up in the car there and thought Jalen Marshall looked pretty good, and Kyle Loxley, number 10 for the Elks, who came in late. I thought, just playing against backups.
Big quarterback.
He looked pretty good, and Trey Ford had some wheels. He beat Cedric Wilcots, but otherwise, I thought Cedric Wilcots, number 93, Darrin, I liked what I saw from Cedric Wilcots. What about you?
Like, he's the one new guy, if you will. The Blue Bombers cut him in training camp in 2021, a year ago. Not quite a year ago. Obviously, the schedule was different last season, but cut him in camp last year, and he's definitely a guy that has impressed in training camp. Like, he makes plays in practice, whether it's drills or 12 on 12. I'm not going to name the offensive lineman out of respect to them, but he put a player in spin cycle and
Yeah.
really ripped past him and got to, I think it was, one of the backups, or one of the guys not practicing, pretending to be the quarterback kind of on these one-on-one drills. And, he got right there, like, really fast. And I think Cedric Wilcox is somebody who is going to be a nice player to have backing up the two best bookends in the CFL, and in Willie Jefferson and Jackson Jeffcoat. I don't know if there's a better duo defensive end group than those two. But I mean, for Wilcox, he, was kind of joking as the media requested him after practice a couple days ago, where it was just like, oh yeah, good, I see my name on the board. A reporter, they'll put the names of the players coming off the field that, they got an interview request. And he was obviously, joking and saying like, oh yeah, good to see my name there. Good to see it lots more. And I even joked with him. I said, don't worry, Cedric, I'll talk to you in week 10. Kind of alluding to the fact that he'll be on the team. Right. But, of course we will wait and see. And if he makes the team indeed. But yeah, good opportunity there. Gregory Liverpool, sorry to jump in here, Zach, would the University of Manitoba quarterback count? His name is Jackson Tuchinski, University of Manitoba quarterback. When Des Catelier, the Bison starter, got injured in their first game in 2021, Jackson took over. If you recognize that name, Tuchinski, extremely athletically gifted family. The sister is a track athlete and one of the top young athletes in the country. And older brother, Xander Tuchinski, was a Winnipeg Rifle. He was in Blue Bombers training camp a couple years ago, turned that into time with the Bisons, time with McMaster University as well. Very, very talented group. But no, Gregory, he would not count. He is a non-counter. He's part of the Canadian Football League quarterback internship program, where they take 9 quarterbacks from U Sports and put them into training camps across the country. So they've been doing it for a number of years now. I think this is the first time we've had a Bison's quarterback in Blue Bombers training camp. They've gone to Calgary. They've gone to, I'm not even sure.
What about Jordan Yance way back?
Yes. Well, you know what? He was not a quarterback intern. They actually signed him.
Is that right, eh?
They signed him to have him. And, some people criticize that, he didn't get a fair shake, but, Winnipeg at that time did not have Zach Collaros. They were looking to develop quarterbacks and kind of bringing them in and pushing them out quickly. So I think, Yance maybe just got lost in that shuffle. But either way, can we talk a little bit more about the quarterback, Drew Brown?
Yeah, go for it. I did want to say, though, Cedric Wilcox, 93 at the end of the game, I noted he had a great jump off the line, like very quick twitch there, and I thought that was nice to see. It's easy to go offside, especially in the preseason. You don't, it's hard to watch film on the backups. Loxley, you don't know the snap count, and so yeah, no, it was nice. You lose Kongbo, right, and so it's important to have some good depth at that DN line, especially to back up the Jeffs. So yeah, let's go to QB.
I'm trying to get the stats here. I can't scroll it down, but Cedric Wilcox had 2 defensive tackles in this game, and both were really nice ones. Tanner Cadwallader, 47 linebacker, he had 5 tackles. A player I mentioned on game day with Chris Walby, he's been all over the field in training camp. I really like him. A Canadian linebacker and special teamer as well. He had a game high 5 defensive tackles. Malik Clements, the former Edmonton Elk, played 7 games there last year. He had 2 special teams tackles, 4 defensive tackles. So he led the way in total tackles with 6, more than anybody on either. Oh, pardon me. Hutter had 9 tackles for the Elks tonight. But, defense, that's maybe one of the more difficult for us on the outside looking in.
Right.
Zach, to really discern if they were assignment sharp, if they made plays where they were supposed to. Sometimes you see guys with a lot of tackles. Well, it might be because the other player next to him wasn't assignment sharp or made
Right.
some errors or missed a tackle. So those can be skewed sometimes. But and you can also make a ton of tackles and still maybe not be where you need to be or
Totally.
making mistakes, that sort of thing. So we'll have to watch a little bit, watch closely in the next coming days when they make
Well, yeah,
some cuts.
Cadwallader, he jumped at 47, right? He jumped out to me. I thought he was really solid. I'm looking at my notes here. I gotta have a better note taking. But here, look at me. I'm managing notes, watching the game. I'm supposed to be talking to my friend Jack and talking to John and Pat on the side. So I might have to get up in the box with you or something, Darrin, because it's hard for me to do two things at once, as my wife will say, Darrin. But yeah, Cadwallader, I liked his game. The quarterbacks, meh. I will say my buddy Kevin said on that 17-yard Augustine run, I believe it was on second down, he had an 8-yard run.
Hmm?
Augustine looking good, and apparently Liam Dobson laid quite a good block on that. So I didn't catch that one. I don't know if you did, but I thought nice to see Liam Dobson in there. Nice to see him laying the wood, or being the road grader, as they like to say.
Yeah.
So that was cool to see.
So I took an opportunity tonight that I rarely get a chance to. So after 7 seasons of covering the games from the studios at TSN Radio with Walby and Westy and a handful of great producers we had there through those years, um, I wasn't able to go to the games. I actually at one point I was at more Grey Cups live than I was at Blue Bomber home games, despite being at practice every day. That changed, obviously, following the closing of the station, which, broke a lot of hearts. RIP. And then I got to go to games, but I got a unique opportunity today, and I thought it would be a good time to do it, Zach, because it is the preseason, and well, the games don't matter, and it was an opportunity to um, there's no Zach Kalaris, there's no Greg Ellingson, there's it's a preseason game. So I went down on the field. I got accredited as a photographer, and I tried to snap as many pics as I could of Blue Bombers players and coaches and that sort of thing to give the Bonfire Sports channel and the social media and everything a little bit more richness and texture this coming season. So I wasn't able to like watch the game as closely as I would like, because I was kind of like up and down the elevator to the press box and walking up and down the field, crouched in a corner and not really seeing what's happening all the time. But I do remember Johnny Augustine in particular, Zach, breaking tackles similar to what he's done,
Yeah.
last year and in years past. Like, he's hard to take down. He's not built physically like Andrew Harris. He's a different makeup, but man, he runs, a different style, but very similar result where guys just can't get a grip on him and take him down. Or if they get him a little bit, off balance, he's able to straighten himself out and keep chugging forward. The legs never stop. So, boy, I think Winnipeg's run game, despite Andrew Harris moving on, is going to be really good this year.
Yeah, I'm excited for the run game. As you say, it's running back by committee. I'd like to see. I'm really having a hard time centering myself. My God, I have bad
You look
spatial
great.
awareness.
You look great. I don't
I
know. I
look
don't know where
great. Of
you. I
course,
don't
I
know where
look
you got that
great.
hat, but you look great.
This hat, let me tell you, we should be selling these hats, maybe doing some giveaways. This hat is like the most comfortable hat. Even my wife thought I looked good in this hat, Darrin, and that says a heck of a lot. Dalton Shane, I saw it on the chat. Someone asked,
Yeah.
I thought, he had about a 7-yard average catch per catch. He had the touchdown. I think it says something that he was in the first team, right? Like, they're not going to put him in the first team because they're going to
Yeah.
cut him. I think they really wanted to give him a look. And I liked what I saw from Dalton Shone. Did I say Shane? I want to say
Whichever.
Shone. What has he
I don't.
shown?
What
No,
has he shown?
we pronounce things correctly on this this
Yes.
show. What about
That's
Trey
our
Ford, or sorry, not Trey Ford, Tyrell Ford? How did he
Tyrell
look
Ford.
to
Yeah.
you? Did you get a? I didn't really have a chance to really watch him. Pumper
Yeah.
saying he didn't look out of place. That's nice to hear. I didn't really have a chance to watch him.
I saw him guarding Cobb late in the game, the Elks receiver. Cobb had one catch for 5 yards in this game. I had heard from some people in Edmonton that he was an impressive player in training camp so far. So I'm not saying Trey Ford, of course, the quarterback for the Elks, they got
Yeah,
the start tonight. But his twin brother Tyrell Ford, Bombers' top pick this year. Um, I can't say he was guarding him all game, but no, didn't look out of place at all. So we'll see what happens. I don't expect any of those top end young guys like Dobson or Ford. The top picks the Blue Bombers have had over the
sure.
last number of years to be amongst the guys that they're going to cut. If they do, they're going to go back to school and remain,
You're
the
right.
Blue Bombers property. Shout out Maddie Meyer, merch. That's a bit of an inside joke. Matt has big shout out to Matt. I played football with Matt. He was the defensive captain when I played for the St. James Rods forever ago. I won't, divulge too much of that, but great guy, huge reason why Bonfire Sports looks and feels like it does. He helped design the Bonfire B, the GameDay Winnipeg you see up there, the
Oh, that's
entire
Meyer.
website. Yes, yes.
Tip of the
Uh,
cap to you.
Yes, big shout out to Maddie, great guy. And what is it? I need a website now.com. There's your free plug, Maddie. I need a website now.com. He's got a ton
Okay.
of great clients in the restaurant and real estate and different industries. So dial him up if you need some help there. Very talented man. So we wanted to talk about I think the biggest story that came out of this game, like, yeah, Nick Demski looked good, and Adam Bighill had a nice sack. Cole
Yeah.
Adamson, the Winnipegger, the Manitoba
Yes,
Bison.
Mr. Adamson to you,
Yes,
Mr.
Mr.
Bombing.
Adamson to you.
He got a sack.
That
That was honestly the highlight of the game for me. That got
Yeah,
the biggest cheer from the crowd at IG Field, Darren, and that was great. Hometown boy gets a big sack. I love it. I love it.
yeah,
Pumper.
he looked like not out of place at all. And for those
No.
that don't know that bit of an inside joke, Mr. Adamson, that was his nickname in high school at Oak Park because he was such pardon my language, grown ass man
Yeah.
that it was like, oh, hello, Mr. Adamson. How are the wife and kids? Ed Tate, bluebombers.com shared that little tidbit during training camp. So Maddie joking leather helmets when Matt and I played for the St. James Rods.
At least you
Now,
played football, unlike me. Hey, let me jump in though. I was impressed with Blake Jackson. We talked about in the midweek show, Darren. He had a good camp last year. He got an injury, and it was nice to see him get, what was it,
Blake
42
Jackson, yeah.
yards, three catches, 42 yards. I thought it was nice. I know they tried to go to Lucky Jackson. That was the pick that was a bit underthrown by Prukop, but he was under pressure. You never know what the O line's like at that point in the game, right? So it's hard. It's hard for me to say whether Prukop whiffed on that like through a duck, but I did think it was nice to see Blake Jackson. I'd like to see him make the team. Certainly
I
good to have that receiver depth, of course, with Jalen Saunders, and we won't talk about that because that's a whole
Well,
other issue.
unfortunate,
But
we can touch on it. Unfortunate
yeah,
incident, and obviously that story from the Winnipeg Free Press came out after Chris Walby and I did Game Day Winnipeg on Wednesday afternoon. So, or pardon me, it's Friday today, so we did it on Thursday afternoon.
well, it's actually Saturday, Darren.
Well, now it is, but let's come on. Let's be real here. It's after dark. It's not pancake breakfast. But anyway, very unfortunate instance. Allegations, of course, nothing proven yet, but allegations of sexual assault from a Winnipeg woman towards Jalen Saunders. The Blue Bombers just did what I think is probably right in this case, and that is until things are solved, you part ways from the individual. I know a lot of people out there, are have said things like, oh, he's guilty until proven innocent and yada, yada. Regardless, it's a distraction.
Yeah.
It's professional football. And, if you have to be dealing with those things off the field, it needs to be dealt with before you can play football and be part of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. So, that was handled how we expected. But anyway, yeah, Walby and I talked about it. My gut was that it was performance based because they cut him before the first preseason game. Now we know that it was likely something else. But BJ McElveen did not play in this game.
Yeah.
Zach, he's somebody that has been a little bit nicked up in training camp, but he made some nice plays. I'm with you on Blake Jackson. That really tough injury he suffered in training camp last year ended his season. But he looks extremely well-rounded. And extremely dynamic. So, we talked a lot about that, right? It's like, oh, okay, they cut Jalen Saunders. They don't have Darvin Adams, and they don't have Kenny Lawler, and, Greg Ellingson's 30-something years. Don't worry about the Blue Bombers receiving core. Don't worry about it. I think the talent is super deep there.
Well, and speaking of receivers, it was nice to see, you talked about this in the midweek show, but Janarian Grant was there with the first team. I think he had a couple of catches, nothing crazy, but he was there. He didn't look out of place as a receiver. Actually, he just had one catch for the 5 yards. But it was nice to see him there. I will switch to defense if we can, and I want to give my player of the game. I don't know if that's a segment, but Zach's player of the game, number 36, buddy, Canadian DB, 5'11", 200 pounds, from Wilfrid Laurier. I believe he was the one that caused the turnover. I thought he was laying the boom. I think he was good in coverage. My player of the game is Malcolm Thompson. We were talking about Tyrell Ford and Patrice Renee and Nick Hallett. No shade on Nick, but was it Nick who was playing? Noah's the one who started. Which Hallett was playing?
Nick is the starting safety right now with Brandon Alexander hurt and his brother, his younger brother Noah hurt. So
Nick, I thought struggled a little bit, but again, it's preseason. But Malcolm Thompson, this guy really jumped out to me, and I was super jacked to see him out there. We kept talking about him during the game at halftime in the car ride home. Of course, my mother-in-law's partner likes to speed. We don't really know why. He's semi-retired. Like, why are you speeding home?
Don't speed home. Don't speed to the game. Don't speed home either. There's a lot of people out there. You gotta be safe.
Malcolm Thompson, he impressed me, Darren. Really exciting. I think Waiters 27 is saying he had a nice, perfectly timed tackle for a loss. It's hard to I think anyway. I never played football, but it's hard to square up a guy in space who's running downhill on you and square him up and just take him down for a loss. That takes a lot of talent and timing and body control. And I thought, great that he's a Canadian. Right, that helps your ratio out. So I loved me some Malcolm Thompson. I'm excited to see. Hopefully he plays in Saskatchewan on Tuesday, Darren. Let's see what he's got. Let's see if he can be consistent.
There, I think unless you're watching on a little phone or something, maybe you can see that. But he played 2 games for the Hamilton Tiger Cats last season.
Right,
it was late in the year when they had some defensive back injury issues. But clearly he's got something, and when you can make impactful plays ×2 at least in a CFL preseason game, late in a game, I think that bodes really well for Malcolm Thompson. Again, the Blue Bombers need that Canadian depth. Like, we could talk about the ratio and these new rules and 49%, yada, yada. Who cares? The reality is good Canadian talent helps team win championships. Like Absolutely. Demski or Mike Benson, long snapping, or Jesse Briggs or Shane Gauthier. Obviously, I don't know if the Blue Bombers would be Grey Cup champions in 2019 if it wasn't for Shane Gauthier, who was like a mid-round pick, out of Quebec in the CFL draft Darren. A number of years ago. So
Grey Cup, a party a few weeks ago at
nice.
Where was it? The Regent Casino. I got some Shane Gauthier to sign my jersey there. Yeah, big fan of his, man.
So, guys like that,
Yeah.
like Malcolm Thompson, like a Patrice Rene. Maybe he can make a mark in the next preseason game.
Yeah.
Tanner Cadwallader, who I mentioned earlier, he had a good game and was somebody that made an impact, a couple times. He just plays so hard nosed. I love watching Tanner Cadwallader, number 47, play football. He's just a heck of a lot of fun. And then you got, Brendan O'Leary Orange didn't dress for this game, but he drips with talent. I think that's the way I
Yeah.
put it, with Walby the other day. But
Yeah.
anyway, these Canadians are extremely important. And when you can develop some of those guys to fill in at defensive back or weak side linebacker or middle linebacker, or, in the case of Cole Adamson, who was awesome today and will
Yeah.
go back to school at the University of Manitoba for the 2022 season. But the future looks bright with a lot of these young Canadians making things happen.
Well, and on a lighter note, I think the refs were in preseason form because they whiffed on a holding call. I
Yeah.
think it was number 38. I believe it was Rutledge who got absolutely horse collared, and he was in good position to
Yeah.
make a play. But hey, the Zebras are in preseason form. You know who else was in preseason form was Captain Blue. I don't know if people noticed. We were just chuckling about this on the way home, but it was 2nd and 5, and Captain Blue in the north end zone was just speeding across the end zone.
I didn't catch that.
Love me some Captain Blue, but 2nd and 5, he was a bit premature there, but I ain't gonna throw. Hey, I'm not an airplane pilot. I can't rock that leather coat. Maybe he was just having some fun, but I love me some Captain Blue. That was
I
that
I
was
got a
pretty
quick.
funny.
I noticed there was a couple well lubricated gentlemen trying to talk to Captain Blue. I don't know if they knew him or what the deal was. First it was one guy, then it was two guys, and they're hollering over the railing there at Captain Blue in that north end zone corner. And then
Okay.
the ushers come down. They're like, "What are you doing?" You like go back to him. He's like, "Oh no, I know him," or something. Anyway,
He was offside, Captain Blue, but maybe
well,
he
yeah,
was
I
trying
guess
to
I
get
guess
away
so.
from these guys.
Yeah. Yeah. Waiters 27 watching live on YouTube says he noticed Captain Blue jump the gun. But you can hear that engine throughout the
Yeah,
stadium, right?
absolutely.
If you're sitting right next to it, like I was, like, holy cow, it sounds like three Harleys,
Yeah.
all at the same time. But I digress. It was it was interesting watching Captain Blue mess
Hey,
up a little
man,
bit, but training camp for
listen.
everybody.
It's training camp, and it was training camp for the fans. Had to reacquaint myself. Where's the bathroom? Are
Mm,
the water fountains working? Yes, yes, they are. That was excellent. It was a nice night at the park, man. Like,
beautiful.
yeah,
Yep.
there was some whiffs. I noted Reddick Cramdy, number 17, Canadian DB. He had a nice tackle, squared up a guy really well. Just some other things. Welcott's had a nice tackle on the QB late in the fourth quarter. Malik Clements, I noted a couple times, stood
Yep.
out. I thought he looked pretty good.
Great
Uh, eh,
story. I
yeah,
got to
go
say
ahead.
this. Judy Owen of the Canadian Press. If you
Right.
don't follow her on Twitter, follow her. Great reporter. She's been a sports reporter for 30 plus years here in Winnipeg, long time with the Winnipeg Sun, and now with the Canadian Press. She actually wrote a piece for Malik Clement's hometown paper. I retweeted it. I
Right.
think
Yeah.
Derek Taylor did as well. Really fun story about him being a dentist and having like a perfect smile and that sort of thing. But he's obviously trying to make an impact on the football field before becoming a dentist. So go look for that story. It's in our Twitter feeds if you spin through it. But a pretty cool story there. I'm looking for the attendance, and sorry to
Yeah.
cut you off.
Someone's.
I'm going to look for the attendance.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
keep
Go
telling
ahead.
me you got your notes there. You're
Yeah,
writing
I
more
got my
notes than
notes.
me.
I'm a professional now. I've got my press pass, I've got my hat, I've got my
No.
notes. Yeah, so Cramdy had a nice tackle, but he took he on second down took a UR penalty, 15 yards. You don't want to do that. That's not going to look good for Mike O'Shea. He's
Right.
probably going to get a talking to. I love me some Les Maru, number 00 from Japan. He got
Yes.
beat on one for a TD, but he's a linebacker. So he was a line. I'm not sure. Maybe Andrew from Turf District knows who it was, but the Edmonton receiver beat him for a touchdown. But he's a linebacker on a receiver. It looked like it was a bit of a speedster. So I'm going to let him go on that one. Again, I want to talk about some Malcolm Thompson. My favorite player, play of the game. I know he's the player of the game for me, Darrin. The play of the game was a perfectly timed safety blitz from number 36, Malcolm Thompson, and he just crushed the quarterback. And I love me some when a safety blitz is timed up well and you smoke that opposing quarterback, like
Yes.
that for me, that's a touchdown. Like that gets me revved up just as much, Darrin. Loved the safety blitz, because when it doesn't work, we all know what happens. That's usually a touchdown. Zero coverage in the middle, and someone's just blazing to the end zone. So again, I've got Cadwallader, number 47, had a nice tackle. I won't write what I wrote here about Murtada missing that PAT. Someone noted, I think it was John Hosang beside me, him and Pat said, hey, we saw Oliveira with a patented Andrew Harris spin move. So that was cool. I didn't see that one. It's hard to
No, I
see
didn't
everything,
either.
of course. I do want to say, go ahead.
I'll just jump in and answer Andre Harm's question, who's watching live on YouTube. The attendance is not on the official stats. Like here's the official stats, and I don't know if you can see it there, but there's no attendance officially listed. But they did announce it in the press box, and it was just over 20,000, if I'm not mistaken. This is my question to you, Zach.
Yes,
Because I had a
sir.
couple of people asking me, like, oh, is this like normal for a preseason game? My understanding is it's pretty normal to get about 20,000 for a preseason
absolutely.
game. It's that throw-in ticket. The Bombers have like a buy one, get one free deal, and cheaper tickets for youth and that sort of thing for the preseason. Because, like, you're not gonna see Zach Collaros, right?
No.
You're not gonna see 4/4 of Adam Bighill and 4/4 of Willie Jefferson. So that's just the case. But how was the energy? It seemed like a really enthusiastic
It was
crowd.
good, man. You know what? It was a great energy, and lots of familiar fans. As you guys all know, right? This is a family. You see each other. You make friends with the people in your section, and you haven't
Yep.
seen them since November, October, since that West final, actually in December, which was a frigid night. So yeah, like people you wouldn't normally see. I sit beside Hustler's parents, great people. They let me their program. Mom let me the program. She's like, I don't need it. I'll look at my husband's.
You could just call Hustler, and he could probably read it verbatim, or have it
Exactly.
memorized verbatim. Shout out
I
Winnipeg
saw
Sports
Logan
Talk.
and the crew, those guys. Logan does scrap metal. He came straight from work. I said, buddy, you work harder than me in 10 minutes than I do a whole day. So nice to see Logan and the bunch. So you know what? The crowd was good. You had people drinking and eating. You saw people who hadn't seen each other in a few months, shaking hands, giving hugs, right? So I think the crowd was good. Nothing makes me more excited than hearing that cannon go off. I love how they hit the cannon at the end of the game, even though we lost, because hey,
Oh, really?
hit the cannon.
Why
I
not?
remember a few years ago they stopped doing the cannon because there was some kind of zoning issue with the people in the resident. Of course, U of M is in a residential area.
There's those condos just
Right?
west, on Snow Street, behind the hospital, behind Victoria.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was no cannon for a couple of games, and I sent a strongly worded email to Wade Miller. I said, it ain't IG Field without the fan cannon. Like, not the fan
Well,
cannon, but the
what do you
actual cannon.
what are you gonna do when, like, the Rolling Stones or AC/DC are there, like they have been in years past, right? Like, you're gonna be like, okay, guys, like, easy on the bass line because we don't want too much rumble.
Yeah, give me
Like,
a break. You got to
you
have the
bought
cannon.
you got a stadium there, that's the way it is. I want to shout out this comment here. Karamjit Betty is always commenting on the Bonfire Sports videos on YouTube. Thanks so much for commenting, Karamjit. Appreciate your support. And he says Augustine looks amazing. A better choice than Oliveira to replace Harris.
Yeah.
Now, he probably jumped in late because we talked about this, right? It's going to be a backfield by committee. Like tonight, it wasn't exactly split even.
Right.
Just pulling up the stats here between, it was a lot more Augustine than Brady Oliveira. that could be for a variety of reasons. But we won't speculate. But Johnny looked good. So did
Yeah.
Brady. But this is going to be a 1-2 punch, a 1A, a 1B all year long. Mix in a little Kyle Borsa to throw defenses off. An American. They got 2 Americans here, Simpson and McRae. That could make the team. If they make an impact in the return game, Simpson and McRae. McRae dressed tonight. I don't believe Simpson did.
No, I didn't see Simpson.
So we'll see in just 4 days when this team's playing a rematch. Well, not a rematch, but another game in just 4 days in Regina against the Rough Riders on Tuesday. Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy to think that. But, if those American running backs can make something happen in the receiving game, but especially the return game, then they might earn a roster spot. You want your returner to be fresh.
Yeah.
You want your returner to maybe take a breath if they have a big return and set up the offense and don't need to step right on the field. Mike O'Shea said, hey, if Janarian Grant wins the job and also wins a starting receiver job, they'll do it. They'll do that, right? If Nick Demski needs to return a kick here and there in a pinch like he has throughout his career, they're not going to take him out of the starting receiving rotation. They might give him a play to catch his breath, get the oxygen a little bit. But we'll see how that tailback duo rounds out. It's going to be fun to watch regardless this season.
Oh, it's going to be great. And you know who I'm most excited to see this season, really take the next step, because he's almost there. He's top tier Canadian. Yeah, that's nice, eh?
That's awesome. Yeah,
that's awesome,
welcome,
man. Hello,
welcome, Gabriel. Yep.
Nick Demski, I thought he looked good tonight. He was the leading receiver. He had 80 yards. He's smooth. He did drop one, actually. He probably could have got 100 yards in a preseason game, which is not bad, right? I think Nick Demski is going to challenge for the most outstanding Canadian, Darren.
Somebody guy mentioned that too. Yeah.
Yeah, this guy. Okay, so Nick Demski, what I've noticed over the years is if the Bombers' offense is sputtering a little bit, it's Nick Demski that gets them out of the pinch, right? You remember the 2019 West Final going into the graveyard of McMahon. They'd beaten us the year before in the West Final, 22-14. We had Matt Nichols. He kind of threw the ball away. Nothing was working for him.
Yes.
That game, that was a huge game in Bomber history. We beat them 35-14, and who breaks it open but Nick Demski? Not on a pass. He runs it up the gut with Chris Strebler faking the run beautifully. The guy can run. He can do the end around. He can catch a screen pass. He's the one who got us back in the game in the 2021 Grey Cup. He had that deeper crossing route, and Zach Collaros with the Onions. He always goes for the deeper pass. Love me some Zach Collaros. Nick Demski pulls an all-world move, breaks the ankles of the DB, and he can return punts, Darren. I'm looking for a huge year from Nick Demski. You've got Greg Ellingson, right? That he's gonna have a huge year. He's your number one. You got Parsley there, right? But Rashid Bailey's gonna have a big year. But how do you stop Nick Demski when he's your third or fourth receiver with that kind of talent? Forget whether he's Canadian or not. Forget whether he's from Oak Park. Nick Demski, who's signed my jersey, by the way. I am looking for big things. So I noticed him jump off the page. Don't love that sun hat he wears, but I'll give him a break on that one.
That bucket hat is the bucket hat is extremely popular in that Blue Bombers room. Yeah, like Brandon Alexander stayed in Winnipeg all winter, and every picture of him, he's wearing that bucket hat with the front popped up. Demski jumping on it too. Look, I'll say this about Nick Demski, okay? I've been singing his praises for a long time because he is such a unique talent. I've called him the Canadian Swiss Army knife. I should just call him the Canadian Army knife. He's got so many different weapons and so many different ways he can be utilized. You can put him out wide and send him deep. He has that speed. You can bring him inside and run him across the middle to make a catch in traffic and right in that linebacker layer. You can have him block. He looks a little bit bigger this year. I don't know if anybody else noticed that. I noticed that in camp. Yeah, I noticed that in camp a little bit. Demski looks a little bit bigger, looks just as fleet of foot as ever. And then, of course, what can you do with Nick Demski, the jet sweep, stuff in the backfield? But then you can just line him up as a tailback. Like, he can put his hands on his knees behind the quarterback,
Right?
I formation or pistol or whatever, the one back set or the two back set, and run the ball, like take it and run it between the tackles and be just as good as any other player, and dangerous because he can break a tackle, he can gain an edge, he can make it happen. So it speaks to the ratio. It speaks to these new rules. It speaks to Canadian talent. It speaks to developing players. It speaks to the talent of youth sports athletes.
That's right.
Out of the University of Manitoba and how good he was in Canada West as a perennial all-star and in doing so many different things as a member of the Bisons. Well, now he's doing it so many different ways as a pro. And, with Andrew Harris moving on from the Bombers, he's the guy. He is the star Canadian in my mind on this team. And he deserves all the praise because he's making it happen. This is what I wanted to say though. Last thought on Nick Demski, because I got some pshaws during training camp when I said this. Nick Demski, 1,000 combined yards this year. That's what I think we'll see. 1,000.
Hell yeah. I'd put money down on that.
Yeah, I think he'll have it. Because, I remember last year, Zach, he had 2 or 3 times he was tripped up from behind.
Yes.
At the 50 or at the 45. Like, he would have went house. So I give him an extra 150, 200 yards than he actually finished with last year because it was that close to breaking those runs or yak yards after the catch. So
that was the Banjo Bowl, Darrin. I think he had a couple big ones. One was from McGuire on a fake. Well, they don't like to call them trick plays in Bomberland, but we do. It was a fake. I think it was a 3rd and short from McGuire, who's since moved on to work for the police. But he threw it to Demski. It was going to be a house call, and it happened a couple times in the game where he, for whatever reason, he turned the wrong way and just basically ran into the DB. But I would 100% put money down on him getting 1,000 yards if he stays healthy. And I think this is going to be his he's had a breakout year. I don't want to say breakout year, but he's going to take it over the top.
Elevation year.
Elevation. I love it. Elevation year. I do want to talk about a couple things. This is my beef of the game, and I know I'm no Chris Walby, right? But my beef of the game is this program. This program drives me nuts. Why do they not use your program? I heard many fans complaining about this. The lettering is teeny tiny. I see your pumper saying this. And they do it by alphabet, right? I know the alphabet, folks. I don't need it alphabetically. Like, I don't have, my wife will tell you, and 7-year-old daughter who's a bit precocious, I don't have a lot of brain cells to burn, Darrin.
Oh, I know. It's tough because you can't see the names on the guys. You see their number, and then you're like, okay, where's 15? Where's 15? Where's 15? And it's like, it's impossible to find because it's not numerical, right?
But here's the thing, Darrin. You flip that over, and our friends at the Turf District will have a laugh at this. By the way, it was Karan Ashley Andrews saying from the Turf District who burned Les Maruo. I don't want to say burned, but he beat him. But guess what? It's numerical order for the Elks, but it's alphabetical for us. I know we're getting into the weeds here, Darrin, but I saw some people that are like, hey, I use DBs. I use Darrin Bauming's one because it makes more sense. And
so bonfiresports.ca. Go to bonfiresports.ca, and this is my wrinkled up printed one, but hit the news section on bonfiresports.ca, and you've got the way too early depth chart. I put it out every year. It's what I see in practice. This is not official. I used to put the Bombers logo on it, and they were like, no, don't put our logo on it anymore because it's not ours. I'm like, okay, yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. So Bonfire logo on there, and go check it out on Bonfire Sports.
And on air, I'm crumpling this thing up, which drove me nuts. I should have had bifocals on. Come on, Bombers, you can do better than that. Here, Darrin, do you mind if I say a couple other things here that I saw?
Let's hear it. Okay. I want people, before you do.
Yeah, go
hit
ahead.
The hotline. People, text. It's just like texting your mama. It's just like texting your friend or your boss or whoever. Fire off a text. It's an easy way for you to vent during the game. You don't have to be in the live chat here. If you miss the show or if you anticipate the show coming up, fire a text or call if you know, like the old call-in shows on the radio, call, leave a voicemail. I get like an MP3 of it right to my email. I'm going to play it on air. So say your name, let it fly,
Yep.
call the number, and you know, we'll get you on the show. I think that'll be a really fun way of getting fans to engage. But hit the hotline. Do it.
Yeah. It's hot. The bonfire's hot. The hotline's hot. My friend Damian Penner left a pretty hot and steamy message for
He
me that
did.
was shared by one Darrin Bauming. I won't repeat it because it was maybe crossed the line. Hey, Brett Olson just put this up. Yeah, Cole Adamson played really well. Darrin was saying he got a sack, and that was probably the biggest cheer from the crowd. I did see. Okay, so I saw something, and here's what I want to throw to you and our blue crew here. Is it concerning that one Winston Rose, who usually smells like a rose, got burnt on that opening touchdown? It was like a 51, 52-yarder. He was in single coverage, and I know he has a nose for the ball. He might err on the side of going for the pick. Does that even matter, or am I making too much of that? Because I was like, was that Winston Rose?
So who pulled in that touchdown? I think it was Caleb Hawley, right?
Yeah, and I didn't even know Caleb Hawley was still playing, but
There's a handful of guys on Edmonton, like,
right?
okay, like, guilty. I didn't do my homework on the Elks because it's preseason.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, oh yeah, you know, we'll watch, you know, Trey Ford and we'll watch Nick Arbuckle, and you know, I'm like, Charles Nelson, our old pal here in Winnipeg. Charles Nelson's on the Elks. He returned a kick. You know, I know a handful of guys on the Elks, like Shai Ross, Winnipeg native, Manitoba Bison, you know, internet famous for the backflip Oreo cookie dunk. And then what did he do? He did a backflip with like the weight, the barbell or the dumbbell.
That's
this year. That was barbell. That was pretty cool. But anyway, there's a handful of guys. I'm just like, whoa, they're on Edmonton now. Okay, that's good. They got to do something. They were awful last year, so it's a Chris Jones rebuild from the bottom up.
It is, and hey, shout out to Don Cruikshank from Winkler. Glad to see you got home, Sign Guy, and I saw you on the big screen. Love me some Sign Guy. The other thing, so well, what do you think? Do you think it's big that Rose, you know, is it just preseason? There's 12 guys on the field in the defense, right? So you don't know if he was left on an island. I don't remember if it was a scramble drill. I don't think so, but the quarterback had some time, listen, Caleb Hawley's a veteran. He's going to make a catch. He's had 1,000-yard seasons before, so whatever. But it was just like, was that Winston Rose who got burnt?
Like, look, Zach, if he got burnt, he got burnt. If he got beat, he got beat. You know, everybody gets beat. Everybody makes mistakes. Like, that's why they play the games. That's why, you know, guys are paid paychecks on both sides, right? So nobody's going to be perfect, especially in the preseason. Like, think of what training camp was like this year for these guys. It was 3 days of rookie camp. And, you know, Dakota Prukup was there, but it was pretty much all rookies.
Yeah.
And then there was 4 days off as the CBA negotiations carried on. Then they got back on the field, and it was still uncertainty. It was a vote down. It was this and that. And you know, 4 days of training camp disappeared. Now they play a game. They've got 4 days. They're going to play another game. And, you know, anticipation of June 10th and the season opening at home against Paul Lapolice's Ottawa Red Blacks. But the reality is, this is a very strange training camp. And for Winston Rose, like, he stepped in last year. He played extremely well on that Grey Cup run, but he was with the Cincinnati Bengals for a year and a bit.
Yeah.
You know, however you look at it, it's the preseason. It could have been Adam Bighill who made a mistake. It could have been Willie Jefferson who made a mistake. It could have been Nick Demski or Zach Collaros if he was playing today, which he didn't, making a mistake. It happens. Guys get beat. So, you know, I'm never going to write a guy off, especially someone as accomplished as Winston Rose, or even put a knock on him. I'm not going to do that in the preseason.
No,
if it was a game that mattered and he got targeted all game and he had a bad game, well, he had a bad game. But the preseason, I'm not too concerned.
Well, listen, as my wife will tell you, I don't have a very good short or long-term memory, so I probably won't even remember this tomorrow. So, Winston Rose, you still smell like a rose. That's the consensus. And listen, the other thing I wanted to say is it was tough to see. I think it was Marlon character number 39, DB, go down.
Got hurt,
I
yeah.
don't. I think he got nicked up. It didn't look great. It didn't necessarily look like a season-ending injury, Darren. But
Yeah,
what did you see
I
from that?
I don't know for sure, but I think I saw him on crutches after the game. Who knows? You don't know,
Yeah.
and we won't know. That's the reality for Mike O'Shea coach team. Of course, the turf district talking about the Elks needing a complete
Yeah,
roster overhaul, not
absolutely.
the defending champ Blue Bombers. But um, here's Don saying he wasn't impressed. He's watching live on Facebook. So
Yeah.
shout out there, Don. Appreciate that. And be sure to give it a follow. Wasn't impressed with Dakota Prukup. We touched on this, Zach. He went
Four for
five of
15,
14
5 14.
for 81 yards, 2 interceptions. I mentioned before, I'll hang one of those INTs on him, the other maybe not, but Dakota Prukop's got to learn a new offense. Drew Brown doesn't. So
Fair point.
comfort level, I think that's what these games are for. That's what these preseason games are for.
Well, and hey, Dakota Prukop got a touchdown. It was a nice run, and it was in the north end zone. So I'm gonna just I'm just gonna call an audible and say that's North Dakota, baby.
Oops.
North Dakota.
Which? Evan?
Dakota Prukop.
Oh,
Whenever Dakota Prukop scores a touchdown,
I got you now.
I
Sorry.
that was
Well,
the coals are kind of cooling down. Everyone's like, okay, maybe it's time to go to bed. But listen, like it was a good run. But whenever he scores a touchdown, I'm gonna throw that joke out. North Dakota, South Dakota, who knows, buddy? But he had a couple of good passes. It's preseason. I don't know. What's Donnie saying here?
So maybe the guy should have run around with a garbage can. That's a mention to the Blue Bombers video they put out during the practice week.
Right,
with,
of
like
course.
240 frames per second, slow motion, perfect pass, this beautiful spiral, boom, right in the garbage can in the corner of the end zone. Watching, I'll say I watched them during training camp, like great little piece of video there. But the reality is all 5 quarterbacks were, I don't know if Caleris was, but the majority of the quarterbacks, they were thrown towards that garbage can for a while. And Dakota was the closest a couple times, hit the side of it a couple times. Then he finally nailed that one in the bucket. So shout out to Dakota there, and kind of a funny comment from Don. I'm blown away. Okay, like I want to mention Drew Brown again. I'm extremely impressed with this guy.
Yeah.
Not just what I saw on the field. I'll share what I heard just outside the locker room when he spoke to media. This guy, like, I don't know, you can look up his height and weight, but he said it. He goes like,
oh, I crumpled up my thing in a rage.
Yeah, now
I got to open it up here. Sorry, I don't mean to throw shade on the Bombers publishing crew.
He's listed at 5'11" and
195.
195. Okay, if he's 5'11", I'm 6 foot. I'm not 6 foot. Regardless, Drew Brown said it himself after the game today. He said, I'm not big. I'm paraphrasing, of course. I'm not big. I'm short. And it's, he needs to be confident, because the questions were, you looked extremely confident out there. What was working for you? That sort of thing. First real opportunity for Drew Brown, who joined the Blue Bombers in 2021, no preseason, a real opportunity for him to get some meaningful snaps and consistency and run some drives. And he looked awesome. 77%, 108 yards and a touchdown. Had a nice 49-yard strike to Nick Demski for the touchdown in the first quarter. But he looked so calm and composed in the game. And then when we talked to him afterwards, he was so calm and composed, like soft-spoken, but authoritative. And he just talked about like how confident he is. And then, a very good question from Taylor Allen of the Winnipeg Free Press about, your size and being a walk-on in college and all of that. Like, he went junior college, then I think he went University of Hawaii, then he went to Oklahoma State and, had to fight to be the starter there, because he's small. Like, NCAA coaches are the same as NFL coaches. They want 6'4", 225. They want Andrew Luck. They want, a 35-year-old or a 40-year-old Tom Brady. They don't want a 22-year-old Tom Brady. I can tell you that. Nobody did. But
nobody did.
They don't
199.
They don't want a 5'10" quarterback. So he's never been maybe given the benefit of the doubt. So he's had to go out and prove everything. But a question from Taylor Allen about, having a chip on your shoulder, if that's served him well. And I love the answer, because he could have said, well, yeah, it's giving me a chip on my shoulder because I got to go out and prove myself. But he didn't. He literally said, I honestly don't care. I don't care. And it was believable. It wasn't just like, oh, I don't care. Everybody thinks I'm short or I'm not big enough or whatever. He's like, I don't care. The only people I care about are my teammates in that room, my fiance, and my family. That's what and just like how he said it, like, go to bluebombers.com and watch it.
I will.
Very, very impressive young man. And clearly Buck Pierce likes him, because I don't think he would, keep a guy around that he didn't believe in, that he didn't see as a prospect and as somebody that can develop. We know this is Zach Collaros' team, right?
Yeah.
But they need Drew Brown to be as good or better than the guy in his sixth year as a quarterback in the CFL and Dakota Prukop.
Well,
I think,
yeah.
Last thing I'll say is I tweeted during the game when it was Drew Brown to Dalton Schoen, right? And I said, oh, like, did we just see the future?
Yeah.
And I was joking, obviously, like tongue in cheek, like future, like 3 years from now, 5 years from now.
Sure.
But a couple people on Twitter, settle down, take it easy, just having fun during the preseason. But I think Drew Brown is somebody that has all the intangibles and all the ability that he showed tonight on the field to be a quarterback in this league.
Listen, I thought he had, and there was one particular play where he hung in the pocket. And I think when a quarterback hangs in the pocket and has a little bit of patience for a guy to get open, that shows me a lot. As you said, it's his second year in the offense. Prukop, it's his first. I don't know. Donnie's saying, is this Prukop's last chance? I don't know. The one I want to hit, because you did a nice bit on this last time, Darrin, is Brett Olson's asking, if you want to pull it up, who do you guys have starting at dime this year? You want to speak to that? Because I think that's a huge question in Bomberland with Maston going down.
Well, I don't know. Do you want me to go into like the whole thing about what the strong side linebacker / dime back is?
It's getting late. Come on.
Yeah, I agree. So regardless, the dime back, I don't like calling it strong side linebacker because it's not a linebacker.
Right.
He's a dime back. He is the sixth defensive back. And Mercy Maston going down, that hurts a lot. They went and got Alden Darby last year. He ended up being a CFL All-Star, so good on him and getting a new contract and joining the opponent, the Hamilton Tiger Cats. But with Maston down, it does look like Donald Rutledge Jr., who was wearing number 38 tonight. They see him as that bigger body, that safety type, that guy that can kind of get his nose dirty and help in run support near the line of scrimmage. But the dime is a DB. You got to cover receivers downfield. We see Adam Bighill do it. We see Kyrie Wilson do it. We see, Les Maruo do it. But the dime has to do it like a corner, like a halfback. They have to be able to go 40 yards downfield and make a play with their hands and obviously with their legs to get there. I think Rutledge has got the inside track on that. That's a tough position to play, though. Zach, they talk about halfback being difficult for American players to come up and learn the waggle and be the nickel, like they call it the nickel in the NFL because you're the fifth defensive back. Well, there's already 5 defensive backs in the CFL. That's why the nickel plus 1, that's the dime or the next coin.
Right.
I digress, though. That dime is a tough spot to play.
Absolutely.
Because it's brand new to these guys. And for Donald Rutledge Jr., time with a couple NFL clubs, but first time in Canada, first time playing on this big field, first time playing against the waggle. and
Yep.
first time playing with 12 guys on the field. People never talk about that as much as they talk about the waggle and the big field. There's 12 dudes out there. It's like an extra, like it's just football is so natural to these guys. Suddenly he's got to think, oh, there's another guy. I saw 3 receivers over there. Oh man, now there's 3 over here with the running back. So it'll be tough, but I think, in this system and the pressure that they can get up front and the talent they have with Rose and Nichols and Glass and Taylor,
Yep.
guarding, they're going to be okay.
Well, I know we're getting late. I'm probably running up against it here, but I did
Sure.
want to ask. We haven't talked about the hash marks, Darrin.
Yeah.
Like, did you notice anything with those hash marks? Like, I wasn't. I kind of forgot about it as I was watching, so I was curious if maybe anybody
Well,
in the
there you
chat or
go.
you,
There you go. If you
right,
forgot about it and you knew
right,
about it, imagine if
right.
you didn't know about it. Would you have even noticed?
No,
So I think maybe that's a good thing.
yeah,
It's not a huge change. It's one that they expect to help offenses and scoring and explosiveness, because there's just going to be more field to work with on both sides. I think it's good for Canadians and Canadian receivers like Drew Wojtarski, like
yeah,
Brendan O'Leary Orange. I don't know if it'll affect Nick Demski too much, but maybe in the jet sweep and those types of plays. But it's going to help that Z receiver, that wide side of the field receiver, be more involved than maybe they were with the wider hash marks, which really puts them on a wide side of the field.
yeah, and maybe let's look big picture going forward here, Darrin. What's your takeaway from this game? Does anyone jump out at you who you didn't think was going to make the team, who is maybe someone who faded a
Mm.
little bit? Not to throw shade on these guys, they're human beings.
I'll say this. Like I already raved about Drew Brown. I think that's a very, very big positive.
Yeah,
Cedric Wilcox, Malcolm Thompson, Tanner Cadwallader in defensive snaps. All those guys looked really good, and I think helped their cause. But I'm going to say Dalton Schoen was somebody who started showing things this week in camp. Well, that's great. But what are you going to do when the lights are on? Well, Dalton Schoen went out there and shone 4 catches on 4 targets.
yeah,
Like, the numbers aren't big. He had a 19-yard catch, but he averaged 6.8 yards per catch. But he had 24 yak yards. He was able to make things happen after the catch. He had a touchdown, and he looked really comfortable there. The waggle is new to him, so he's
yeah.
he is a slot back. He's going to have to learn that. But for an American who is a walk-on at Kansas State, I think the future is bright for him. I'll give him my prospect or blue chipper of the game, if you will.
6'1", 218, so some good size there, right?
Yep. Yep.
I mean, I'm 200 pounds. That's not saying much, but
I
it's all
wish
in
I
the
was 200
bones.
pounds.
But yeah, I like me some Dalton Schoen. Anybody, like I said, I don't want to throw shade on guys, but anybody who maybe faded for you, Darrin? Do we even want to go there?
No, honestly, nobody faded for me.
Yeah,
I found it interesting that Tomoya Machino, the global player from Japan, the offensive
right.
lineman, who is an absolute monster of a man, he looks like an NFL offensive tackle. He started at right guard.
Did he?
He started at right guard, and it was Jeff Gray at left guard.
Oh, interesting.
So
Good catch.
Liam Dobson did not get the start, and I don't read anything into that. I really,
Yeah,
really don't. I think it's just because Machino has been here for a couple years now, and Liam Dobson arrived late. Um, you know, no fault of his own, needing to get his contract straightened out in the USFL and all that, stuff. So I expect Liam Dobson to be in the mix when it comes to the starting offensive line this year. Probably the safer bet to see Jeff Gray
yeah.
early in the season, but I think Liam Dobson's going to be right there. Hey, if Pat Neufeld can't start the year, like he hasn't practiced in a while, had a bit of a snag in training camp
Yeah.
here, you know, who knows? We might see a rookie Liam Dobson getting a start early.
Well, and I love me some Pat Neufeld. I met him at the Grey Cup party at the
Awesome dude,
convention
great guy.
center.
Yeah,
Great guy, Great mustache at the time. I don't know if he still has it, but I'm always a fan of a stash. My dad rocked a stash. I can't personally. I would be, literally locked in the basement if I had a stash. But he has had injury problems in the past. It's kind of chronic and maybe different injuries here and there. So it's so important that you've got that depth on the O line. All power to Pat Neufeld. I hope he comes back.
Yeah,
He's a stud, right? He's that
he is
interior hog Canadian that you
wildly,
need.
wildly underrated. Wildly,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Can
So I
play
want to see.
tackle.
Yeah, he did play he did play and geez, like I talked about this on the podcast, but going from guard to tackle, you think, oh yeah, it's just on the offensive line. My goodness, that's night that's apples and oranges, man.
That's tough. It's really tough. It's a whole different position. Like it truly is. Like you want to move from guard to center. Yeah, you got to snap the ball and call
Sure.
the protection. That's the mental part. Left guard to right guard, a little bit different, but not much. To tackle, very, very different. Can I share one quick story? I know we'll probably wrap it up after this. Maybe I'll get a final thought from you, Zach. But uh,
Sure.
last year when Alden Darby joined the team, he mentioned being a car guy, and he's like, yeah, I got this fancy car and I got this. I can't remember exactly what his
Oh, is
cars
that
were, but
right?
yeah, he's like, oh, I got an Audi and I got a something. Anyway, like they were back home in Toronto where his home was after the Argos traded him to Winnipeg. And then it was all on Zoom because it was during the pandemic 2021 season. And Pat Neufeld came up after and he sits down and he says, well, if anybody's asking, I drive a white F-150. It's a 2008. And like, that's just the guy he is, right? Like he's just a down home Saskatchewan boy
Yeah.
who went from being, like, oh my gosh, I got to join a nearly winless Blue Bombers team. When was that? Back in 2013,
And not
2014,
only that, sorry to interrupt, but
to
he
being
got
the guy he
robbed
is
of
now.
that Grey Cup, right?
Yeah.
2013, hometown boy.
But it's worked out for him because
Yeah.
he's beyond happy here and
Yeah.
just a genuine guy. So, your final thoughts on this
Hey.
as we wrap this first edition of Game Day After Dark, Zach?
Hey, it's been fun to chop it up with you, Darrin. Love it. Love talking Bombers. I could go all night, but the reality of having to wake up. I know
I'm
you
wearing the
enjoy.
dad hat, but you're the dad, so you need to get some sleep.
Hey, tomorrow morning is going to be super rough, and I actually have to work tomorrow for half the day. But when you got blue and gold running through the veins after an exciting night at the park, and you got to talk Bombers, I'll be ready to go. It'll hit me later on Saturday night. It was, you know what, Darrin? It was just fun to be at the park. It was fun to see
Yeah,
everybody. Yeah, it's
agreed.
my family. It's my happy place. I did see someone order some pizza going in. I tweeted it. I thought maybe you and Hammer and
No,
and Tate got some pizza up there.
there's a
Thanks
lot
to
of
the
people
Turf
at those
District
games.
for thanks for the Turf District for showing up. We
Yeah,
got to get
appreciate
them
it,
on
guys.
video because those folks are absolute all-stars. Maybe when we play the Elks again. But yeah, just super fun to be out there. I love me some Malcolm Thompson. I've said that a bunch of times. Listen, going into Tuesday, because we're not going to talk before then, we'll be talking Wednesday for the midweek show. But listen, Murtada's got to show something, and if he doesn't, I'm a little concerned. I'll
Yeah,
be honest with you. I know maybe
yeah.
it was the first game under the lights, but this guy's under the gun. I want him to succeed. Then what are you left with? Legio? Is Legio going to be your place kicker and your punter? We don't know what's happening with the Aussie guy. Was it Hackett? I think
Tom Hackett. Yeah,
he had some family issues. I know he was in Utah, so who knows with him? But that's got to get squared away. And I assume we didn't really get to see the fourth string quarterback, Mancuso, number 3.
yeah. He
He was
didn't.
holding, I noticed, which is good
Right.
to see him on the field, but
He was
interesting to see what. Sorry, go ahead.
another late camp arrival, right? So maybe
Okay.
just not ready to be thrown into the fire. Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll see what he has. Maybe just a question for you, Darrin, before we wrap it up. I mean, who are we expecting? Are we, it's a road game, so they don't usually send everybody. Who are
They're
you
gonna
expecting to
they
see
can
out there?
Yeah, they can dress 60.
Okay.
So more than that may travel. I imagine
Right.
Zach Collaros will travel. Will he play? I I don't know. I
Yeah.
honestly don't know. there's been no media release or at least schedule for the media sent out yet as far as when the Blue Bombers are back on the field. They are off tomorrow as far as media availability. They're in the building. They're going to be breaking down the film. I asked Adam Bighill about that, how valuable these next couple days are in watching the picture. They always talk about like to see the pictures. You play in a game, you get to see pictures. You see video, you see stills, you see yourself make mistakes, make the right decisions, those sorts of things. And for someone like Adam Bighill to teach these young guys, for somebody like Zach Collaros to teach these young guys, these next couple days extremely valuable, and how they absorb that info, how they learn, and then translate that into the second preseason game. That's what Kyle Walters, that's what Mike O'Shea and his coaching staff are looking for. That's how you earn a job in pro football. So it's going to be an interesting couple days, Zach. And I'll remind everybody, GameDay Winnipeg will go as usual. Chris Walby will join me the day before the game live here on Bonfire Sports. And then, Zach, are you going to join me for the post game?
Hey, back to back, Bomber. All right.
Absolutely.
Absolutely,
Okay. Well,
I
then
will.
you'll be back for Game Day After Dark here on the channel. And then, of course, Zach, you'll join me every week all season long on Bonfire midweek. We're going to go Wednesday this week, and then we're going to go into regular season mode, right, Zach? We're going to do Tuesday nights all season long, 7:30 live here on the Bonfire channels.
And I will do a final shout out to my friend Vicky Short, who I finally got to meet, enjoying her retirement out in Lac du Bonnie. Long career as a librarian out there. Great to meet you. Got a couple hugs, and nice to talk to you, and hope to see you at the next game. I'm excited. I'm excited, man. We get to watch the bar, and I think it's televised, right? So we can watch
It is.
on TV. We
Yep.
can chat after. Hopefully, get some people back in the chat. Thanks for everybody who joined the chat. It takes it to the next level because it's super fun to see your chats, even if I get distracted by it because some of them are pretty funny. Oh yeah, we got a shout out to Glynis. I know she wasn't there. She had a family event in Texas. My mother-in-law sits beside Glynis, and she's been a longtime supporter of the podcast. And I'm trying to coax her into, come on, join. We're taking it to the next level at YouTube here. So Glynis, I hope to see you next time. No excuses. And shout out again, of course, to the women fans of the Blue Bombers. You guys rock, or you gals rock. It was great to see many of you. Raimi was there with her mom. What does she go by now? She changed her moniker. It's Bomber Hero, Super Bomber Hero. Or I gotta look it up. It's getting late, but
We'll get an expose on that on Bonfire midweek on Wednesday.
But anyway, nice to see everybody. Great night at the park, and look forward to chopping it up again Tuesday and Wednesday, Darrin.
Absolutely. Zach, thanks again for joining me. This was a heck of a lot of fun. The beginning of many more post games to come here on Bonfire Sports and Game Day After Dark. I am so glad this game in Saskatchewan on Tuesday is on TV, Zach, because your wife would be so angry that I would kidnap you and drive you 6.5 hours west and land in Regina and stay at a crummy Airbnb to watch the game. If it wasn't on TV, that's what would have had to happen. So
oh my goodness.
Thank goodness TSN is carrying that game on Tuesday. So Game Day Winnipeg, Monday afternoon. Chris Walby and I will record that live, so be sure to join us. The game will happen on TSN. Zach, you're going to pop in for Game Day After Dark. Just like this, about an hour and a half. As soon as the local radio broadcast wraps up, we'll get Game Day After Dark going, and then you and I have the second edition of Bonfire midweek on Wednesday, 7:30 live right here on Bonfire Sports.
Let's go Bombers, everybody. Good night.
Night, everybody.